I'm Jane Stanfield. My brief biography is in 2004, I had a legacy sent to me by someone who died. I took all of '05. I planned a 1-year trip around the world doing volunteer work in 12 places, 12 projects in eight countries. And it just really changed my life. And came back, started speaking and teaching about it, wrote a book about it, and now just love and I'm thrilled to talk to people who want to volunteer. So let's get on with it. Volunteering and traveling with a purpose. If you're considering volunteering, congratulations, you have found the most addicting way to travel. When you find the project or the type or the community of people that you will meet when you do this and they fit you, it changes how you want to travel from then on because you have a true cultural experience. When you're working side by side with a local person on a heart-filled mission that you're passionate about, whether it's teaching kids or restoring archaeology or cleaning up a trail, there's nothing like it. Why volunteer? Before we start, there's a couple, all of this is going to be questions. My book is all about questions. Let's start with where are you on the scale of I like to do it all by myself, I want to plan it all by myself, or where it's more of a package deal. Because have any of you gone online to find out about volunteer travel? 500,000 links await your eyes. You'll go blind and you become disheartened. So anything you can do to narrow from 500,000 down to 100,000, down to 10, down to 1,000, down to 10 is going to help you. So where are you on the scale? Because there are do-it-yourself ones where you do all the planning, and there's the ones where it's, that sounds great, I really like that one, you sign up for it, and it's pretty much all laid out in front of you. The next big question is, what is drawing you to volunteer? When you volunteer at home, are you using a current skill that you already have, or are you doing something you've never done before? Because that's another great way to quickly narrow down the list. There's no wrong answer here, it's just what is your answer. When I'm saying are you using a current skill, that's also a hobby. Yeah, you may be an MBA or a teacher, but maybe you're a fabulous gardener. Maybe you design websites. Maybe you are a wonderful knitter or a cook. Those are also things you can do as a volunteer. The one thing I ask you to consider as you're starting to look about your trip and your planning, if you look on the Meet Plan Go website, look at the link that says making your trip resume worthy. If you are planning to come back to your current employer, or if your trip is mainly to explore in a way that I've done this career for so long and my next career I want to do this. So that may also direct what you might want to do as a volunteer in order to start getting some street cred that you might be able to go into that new career. What to do? What can't you do? These are just big, broad categories. Animals, domestic animals or wildlife, rehabilitation or science, conservation and environment. Could be anything from cleaning up a trail in a national park, or it could be doing scientific research with a scientist on the melting of the ice caps. Are you a data kind of person? Does your brain automatically go towards systems, business systems, financial systems, cataloging things? Maybe that's more of a data volunteer. How about inanimate objects? Do you want to dig up medieval pots? Do you want to reconstruct a wall in a crumbling castle? Do you want to preserve art? Maybe it's not, you're not necessarily working with people or a service, but you are preserving something. People is probably the broadest one. Think everything from a newborn all the way through the retiree. Men to women, healthy, physically challenged, teaching, art, sports, safety, microcredit. I mean, broad categories. And then the relief volunteer. There's the first responder volunteer, and if you've got National Guard service, or if you're in the Red Cross, or if you've got medical training, that might be you. But just remember, Haiti is still in the shambles, so is New Orleans. There are many long-term volunteering opportunities in former places of devastation that can use you. And sometimes it's just you with a mop and a bucket saying, point me and I'll do it, or someone who is a trained architect or an engineer or a construction person who can really help in that effort. Idealist.org, idealist.org is a great website for your battery because not only does it have volunteer opportunities across the globe, but if you want to work on a nonprofit somewhere around the world, you can also search there for work. And you can sort on many different things, language spoken, time of year, type of project, cost, the whole 9 yards. It's a great one to have. More questions. Where is it done? Sometimes, you know, I want to work with giraffes. Well, you won't be doing that in Europe probably. You're probably going to be in Africa. There are times when where is a very limiting factor. I want to see the heads on Easter Island. Well, I guess it's Easter Island. When can you go? Again, that can be a limiting factor. I want to see the wildebeest going across. Okay, you got to make sure you're there during wildebeest migration season. There are times, however, that a lot of things can be done all over the world. Who else is going to be there is an interesting one because you know who you're going to be serving. You know the local community you're probably working next to. But based on where the volunteer nonprofit is based, if they're based in the US, what I found is I tended to be in the community of lots of Americans. Great. But if I was going with a nonprofit that was based in a foreign country, I had an international experience within the volunteers as well as being in the foreign country. And that also depended on the type of placement or the volunteer project you pick also determines what is the male-female ratio and also the age range. So if you are looking for a specific age range, you can find it, and if you're looking to avoid a certain age range, you can find it. Does it cost and how much? This is a big one for a lot of people. The first answer is not always, but sometimes there's a fee. Why is there a fee? Think about the volunteering you do here. If you volunteer at the Art Museum or if you volunteer to clean up the Hudson River, both worthy nonprofits. They don't have the funds to hire absolutely everyone they need to do their work, so they take volunteers. If you're a volunteer in New York City, you're paying your own housing, your own transportation, your own food, your own insurance, any training, and that's the same thing with the foreign nonprofit. If they had the money, they'd hire local. They're already there, they know the language, they know how it works. What they need are foreign visitors who sometimes are willing to pay for the experience they're going to be offering them. And they want it to be a win-win situation. They want volunteers who are excited and can pay sometimes. They want the volunteer to have a great experience so they can go home and go, it was so much fun, you have to go do this. What is covered if you do pay? And this is broad, but these are all the things that can be covered. Room and board, airport pickup, local transportation, insurance, language instruction, training, and pre-trip logistics. And a lot of times there's also an out-and-out donation to help fund the project you're working on. You see the double asterisks is there. Underneath it says, double asterisk, US 501c3. Is it a nonprofit based in the US? If yes, it's probably going to be one you're going to be paying the most for. However, because it's a 501c3 and you're probably working 40 hours a week on this site, potentially over 100% of your expenses can be tax deductible. Your airfare, your shots, the whole 9 yards. You're going to need to talk to your accountant on that, but that is one thing to consider. If low budget is an absolute necessity for you, we're going to go over some of them, but here's a good way to just find one. Do a Google search, volunteer / low cost or no cost / country / type of volunteering, and start searching that way. Okay? The costs break out. I've got them with dollar signs anywhere from under $100 to volunteer, not all the other stuff around it. It doesn't include airfare, or over $1,000 depending. How long? Let's do a short one, under 30 days. Pueblo Inglés, a week-long Spanish conversation to Spanish business people. WWOOF, as you might have heard earlier, worldwide workers on organic farms. You have to pay to join WWOOF in the country you're going to. It's not very expensive. And then they give you the list of all the places you can WWOOF at. GeoVisions, which Sherry has done, as has Katie, is a wonderful one. It's lower cost, and also it's more of a cultural exchange. So you are very much living with people, and you are getting a real feel for the culture. Using Your Skills is a new one I've just heard of. It's called Do Good As You Go. They are building up a database of places that don't charge volunteers. The volunteer is already there, already got themselves there in a hotel, the whole 9 yards. And they are using either your skills, which you will see which skills they need, or they're giving you a small amount of training to go and represent them and give some training. And it's a growing one. One of the most expensive ones is a science-based one called Earthwatch, based in Massachusetts. You are assisting a scientist in the field collect data. And because the scientist has very specific needs, you pay for it. But like I said, it is one of the US nonprofits, so therefore you can get almost all of that back in your taxes. How about something a little longer? Oh, let's go that way. How about a medium one, 30 to 90 days? If you use your own experience, there's one called the International Executive Service Corps. This one is more for highly qualified professionals. If you've got business or finance or banking or engineering, you might want to look at this one because there are times they have a listing of places where they need people with expertise. And depending on where it is or how far it is, they may pay some of your expenses. Another one, Girls or Women's Issues, wonderful book, Half the Sky, talks about basically the sex traffic and problems with girls. And in the back, they have a wonderful listing of agencies that are listed in this book, and some of them do take volunteers. And so those are ones you might want to look at. Again, those are lower cost. You still have to get yourself there, but during the time you're working, probably much lower cost because you're in significantly reduced economic areas. How about a long one, up to 365 days? These tend to be ones where you need a little bit more experience, and they also sort of cross over the border between volunteering to employment at times. Obviously, using your own experience, Doctors Without Borders, without saying you have to have medical experience almost, and it's a 6-month plus deployment. Kiva Fellows, which I've just learned about, thank you so much, is, Kiva, where you can do a microloan to help someone in a developing country. If you have banking experience, you can apply to be one of the 500 fellows. And if you're selected, it's an internship, so you're not going to be paid. But I imagine once you're there, they're probably housing and feeding you, but you probably still need to get there. Teaching English as a second language or teaching English as a foreign language, there are 2 agencies. Again, there are many. These are the 2 that I'm aware of. Eye2Eye and Bridge Linguatech do offer that type of training. Again, these tend to be a longer one, and if they are requiring you to have the ESL or the TEFL, there's probably, you are sort of paid or you are put up. So if you're going for a longer term, this is an opportunity. How about super long? Well, the 2 that I'm most familiar with are the Peace Corps and the UN Volunteers. Again, your expenses are paid, but you're not necessarily getting a wage. Resource books. There are books that have lists, like Half the Sky. One of the ones that I've known and have seen for years, they're in their 11th edition, is The Volunteer Vacations by Bill McMillan. Wonderful cross-section in the back by length, season, how long you have to go, how much it costs. Another one, there are more that are just like stories. And sometimes people prefer the story because they want to hear about, in a volunteer's voice, what was it like to really do that. Voluntary Traveler, which is up here if you want to look through that. Also The Voluntourist by Ken Budd. And then I ended up writing a book when I came back after I was speaking and teaching. People kept asking the same questions again and again and again. And we've pretty much gone over them. Why, what, when, where, who, and how much. And that will help you get your selection down to a few. I've got a sample of it up here if you would like to look at it. There are so many. Again, you can go blind trying to find all the different books. Great magazines. Anyone seen The Verge magazine? Canadian magazine, all about volunteering. Available in the book in some of the larger bookstores. and it's also online. Articles, Meet Plan Go, Boots and All, and Transitions Abroad are marvelous websites. When you go on the main website and you just click in volunteering, they've got all types of articles written by people who've actually done it. For the Meet Plan Go, Stay Motivated Before You Go, Boots and All, How to Find Cheap Volunteering, and Transitions Abroad, Volunteering in Australia with Wildlife. So there's all different ways you can find it. I keep reiterating all these different resources, whatever it takes to keep you hungry, to keep you in the conversation. You never know if it's that last book or that you're flipping through a magazine, it's like, Eureka, I've always wanted to go to Morocco. Now I have to go to Morocco. Articles to consider. There's been a lot of buzz on the internet in the last, I'm going to say 7 to 5 years, on is volotourism good? Are we doing more harm than good? And I say at times maybe, but a lot of it depends on you doing your due diligence. The ones that I'd ask you to consider are the difference between volunteer and development work, a great article. Again, you're going to see these links in the resources. Is voluntourism a dirty word? And poverty tourism a debate about the nuance about it. They're just very interesting articles for you to look at the entire system and figure out. The ones, when people say is volunteerism a dirty word, I think the ones that most come to mind are the ones where you're working with children or you're working with very sick animals. And I guess my one caveat would say, if you would consider what you might be doing as a volunteer with these kids, would we allow that in the United States? And if we wouldn't, is that the best way to serve that population? So you just have to ask some of these questions for yourself as to what's going to fit and if it really is going to serve you in your goals. Due diligence. I think it's on the volunteer's part, just like you would if you're buying a car, making a loan, buying a house, or buying a mattress. You spend some time doing research. The more questions you ask yourself and the better you know yourself and gets really straight about it. You know, I need a hot shower every night. Got it. Don't look at the ones where you need to backpack for 4 weeks, all right? And if you've got some flexibility, great. There's different opportunities. But if you've got something that other people would consider a non-issue, if it's a big issue for you, then that's the question to ask. The project has got to fit you. Because as you travel, as you know, things don't always go according to plan. But if you can't wait to get up because the baby baboon needs its bottle, or you can't wait to go unearth that medieval pot, all of a sudden when the lights go off in the middle of the night and there's no air conditioning, it's not that big of an issue because you can't wait to get up. But if you're just tepid about the project, then when the lights go off, it's a bigger issue. All of the questions that you feel are very important for you are the questions you need to ask the agency or the project coordinator about how is this going to happen for me? Tell me about the day. Tell me about your board. Tell me about your funding, how long you've been involved. Who leads the project? Who decides on the project is to be done? Those are all good questions to ask. How much is my money really going to help this project? Is it helping to fund the local staff? You know, figure out what those questions are for you. And whenever possible, speak to a recently returned volunteer of your age and sex who just came off the project that you liked, because they're the ones that you can ask the questions that you don't even know you've got the question until you start talking to them, and they say, oh, and don't worry about the snakes. What about the snakes? You know, you don't even know that question yet, but they'll be able to tell you. How to be a star volunteer? The best way is to be able to show up to work every morning, enthusiastic, ready to go, and look the coordinator in the eye and say, what can I do to help you today? What's going to help you the most? It's not my agenda of, I want to do flashcards with the 2-year-olds again. It's, I realize the basement is flooded. Do you need me to mop it out? That will make you a star volunteer, no matter where you are. And then that gobbledygook at the bottom is a song that a friend sings. And it really, in my mind, encapsulates why we volunteer. And what it means is, I cannot do all the good the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. So you've just got to figure out what that thing for you is that you can't wait to go do, and go find a way to go do that. Traveling with purpose. We're leaving volunteering for a minute. We're going to talk about having a goal, a project, or a mission. No matter where you are, you're going to have some focus. And it helps in the interview, either when you're debriefing with your current employer as to, now tell me again why you went around the world and I'm holding this job for you for 3 months or 6 months. You can tell them, I did it because of this. Or it also helps you with a future employer say, I was doing this in my career, I realized I needed a change, I did this, I'm coming back with a clearer vision, and I'm ready to go. Cross-culture immersion. People want to experience the culture. Like I mentioned, GeoVisions. Almost every speaker in the room that you've heard or will hear has probably done some volunteer work. So you can probably go to just about any one of them and say, what was the standout volunteer thing that you did, that you just found was so important? Another way to immerse in culture is find books about people who have changed their culture. Come on shore and we will kill and eat you all. Is that not the best topic? It's an American woman who was studying her PhD in Australia, happened to vacation in New Zealand, fell in love with a Maori man they married, and now they're living in both countries. Talk about cultural shift. But books like that. And then think of the famous Eat, Pray, Love. That was a woman, she had 3 goals. I'm going to 3 countries and I'm going to do a different thing in each one. Maybe that's the way to break yours down. There are so many things I want to do. Okay, fine, pick 3. Art, beer, hikes, whatever. And figure out, where do you want to look at art, where do you want to drink beer, and where do you want to hike? Whatever it takes. I'm saying, let's get to the bottom line. Let's get you off the couch, out. Whatever it takes. As a student, maybe you're here, it's like, just teach me, show me. Maybe you want to work to learn how to be in your next career. Maybe you just need to study more about it. You need to go to the master. Or maybe now you've got some studying and now you need to intern. Figure out if those are causes you can do. Another great inspiration magazine is Afar. It's an experiential travel magazine. It's not it's Tuesday, we're in Belgium. It's, I'm going to France for 4 weeks and I'm going to learn to bake a baguette. And they've also got wonderful articles about expats who, they say what they do. It's like a page and a half. They tell you how many months of the year they're on the road, and they show you how they pack, and it explains what it's like to live a real international life. If you know of someone out there doing exactly what you want to do, see if you can Google them and get on their blog or get on their Facebook or whatever, and just start following them to keep inspired. How about you want to learn a language? Well, that's pick a country and a language and go. But you can do some prep work while you're here. If you've already got some basic French, if you find Alliance Française, you can go and you can start your French conversation before you go to France and really get into it. Idlewild Books has language classes. In-country opportunities, like people have said, I went to the Dominican Republic and I was studying Spanish, and then from there I went to Ecuador, and then I went to Argentina, and then I went to the Galapagos. There's also in-country, there's formal classes, but there's also homestays where you're living with an indigenous family who doesn't have any English, so you are in your very advanced beginning, are learning their language. And I'm running out of time, quick. Maybe you're here to complete a bucket list, your great American novel, your thesis, including your computer, your notes, an exotic location, and lots of wine. Maybe one of your goals is standing on each of the continents. Maybe one of your goals is to see, experience, fill in the blank, opera, primates, UNESCO, drinking beer, whatever. Checking out the world. Great books, Sex Lives with Cannibals, Vagabonding from Mr. Potts, we heard. 3 Miles an Hour, that's a woman who walked around the world for 5 years. Tales of the Female Nomad, someone who left after a divorce and has never come back. General resources, Why We Travel. This is a great one to start a lot of your research because it inspires you as to why you want to travel. Find an accountability partner. Find a buddy in the room or in this meeting or in your family who only supports you. Join, meet, plan, go. Get on their website, do the coaching class, go to their local meetups, travel book clubs, travel meetups. And like they said, tell only your supportive family members. Don't tell Aunt Bessie, who's never been more than 10 miles away from home. She's not going to be your best supporter. Do whatever it takes to stay focused and heading on your career break. Like she said, don't tell the doubting Thomases, tell the cheerleaders. And only tell the doubting Thomases like when you're 2 weeks out. I'm going. Here's my itinerary. Here's how you can keep in touch with me.